I'm Karen with My Kids Gay and I'm okay. And as a parent of LGBTQ kids, when they very first come out, you feel so alone and you're scared. I cannot share that enough. So I'm excited about today's podcast because I have two guests who are really special to me. They have inspired me for my work as an ally within the LGBTQ plus community. Both women are moms, authors, motivational speakers, and founders of their own nonprofit. And I'm excited to announce Liz Dyer, founder of Serendipity Doodah and Mama Bears. I practiced that all morning. And joining us also is Sarah Cunningham from Free Mom Hugs. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Karen. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. So, like I said, my daughter came out about 15 years ago. But before that, Sarah, I remember sitting in a beauty shop looking at People magazine and
Oh,
with your picture, I know. And
nice.
my daughter's in junior high. She hadn't come out yet. And you were standing there holding Free Mom Hugs with a handmade T-shirt and sign, and I remember thinking, "Oh, I wonder what I would do." And within about 10 years of that article, I found out what I would do, and you both have just laid this groundwork for me, and I cannot thank you enough. So, Liz, would thank you. So would you tell me, Liz, and both and Sarah, how you guys got this all started? So
Well, thank you, Karen. I do love to hear stories like that where moms find us and it makes a connection. So my son came out in 2006. He was 19 years old at the time, and we were not affirming. I was leading women's ministry in a Southern Baptist church. I was writing Bible studies and teaching those to conservative Christian women and speaking at conservative Christian women events. So you can imagine it really rocked my world. I guess one of the first things that I thought about after my son came out was I know what I've been taught. I'm pretty sure it's right, but I have to be absolutely sure because the most important thing here is my son's well being. And as a woman of faith, I believe that would be most important to the God I believe in also. So I started doing a deep dive and it took a while. The first thing I really looked at was scripture, and that wasn't real helpful because these verses that people had been using didn't really seem to apply to my son. I mean, they were verses about, I don't know, idol worship and weird things that had nothing to do with my son. My son was saying, I just want to date someone of my own gender, find someone, fall in love, build a life with them. There was nothing in the Bible about that. So I listened to other sermons. I listened to people debate. I read science and medicine to see what they said. I really tried to keep an open mind because, I knew it wouldn't really help me if I just went to information that reinforced what I already believed. I'll tell you what changed my mind. And that's when I heard stories from LGBTQ plus people who had sincerely, wholeheartedly believed that it was wrong to be anything other than heterosexual and cisgender. And their stories convinced me that non affirming theology was wrong because they told me a lot of stories about what I call bad fruit happening in their life. They were anxious, they were depressed, they were stressed. They isolated themselves because they didn't want anybody to know the real them. So they didn't build good relationships. Many of them had, health issues, and a lot of them just hated themselves. They had a lot of self loathing, and they also kind of had given up wanting to live. I'm not saying everybody was talking about taking their own life, but a lot of people, more people than not, would tell me stories about going to sleep at night and just hoping they never woke up or hoping they didn't live for long because it was just such torture. And I was a woman of faith who believed if you went God's way, and I still believe this, as a person of faith, I believe that God's way is going to be good for us. Won't solve all our problems, but it sure isn't going to make me hate myself. It sure isn't going to make me want to give up on being alive. So that was the big change. And then a few years into the journey, I just kept trying to connect with people. I went to a lot of progressive Christian events. I had made a lot of connections with other families, and I wanted to find a way to put them together. So I started a Facebook group for moms of LGBTQ kids. Having worked in women's ministry, I really did like working with moms. And I also had this idea by then that I wanted to get a lot more moms involved in trying to change the world because I was starting to realize my son had to face a lot of discrimination and obstacles in life. And, like any loving mom, I want the world to be a good place for my son. So I started that Facebook group with about 150 moms, and today we have more than 40,000 mothers in that one Facebook group. And that one group turned into the organization called Real Mama Bears. And today we have more private online communities. We have more than 60 chapters. We have 7 programs that serve the LGBTQ plus community, which I won't get into now, but maybe we can talk about it before we get off today. And anyway, we're serving about 100,000 families a year right now, and it's pretty exciting.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So, Sarah, how about you?
Thank you. And I love Liz when she shares her story. It's a journey much like mine. But if it weren't for Liz and the real mama bears, I don't think I would have ever found the resources that I needed, my voice to change the conversations at the water cooler. And my journey was much like Liz. A woman of faith. I have 2 young children. We raised them in the non-conservative evangelical church. And when our youngest son came out to us, I didn't allow the space to even have a conversation about it. Nobody talked about it within our place of worship. And as we did try to have those conversations, we began to just alienate each other from our church home of 20 years. And it was devastating. And I use the term like when my son came out of his closet, I went into mine. And like Liz, I could not reconcile a loving God all of a sudden condemning my son who knows, scripture and has searched God. And I have a saying on my Facebook page that says, no one has searched the heart of God, the scriptures, or themselves more than the gay Christian or their mother, right? And I was frozen in that fear. I was clinging to my faith, and it was my faith that was killing me. But like Liz said, it was seeing my son happy, healthy, living authentically, meeting his friends, hearing their stories. And then he invited me and my husband to go and stand with he and his friends at an Oklahoma City Pride Festival. It was my first intentional interaction with the gay community. And I fell in love. I had a pivotal moment, both spiritual as a human being, as a woman of faith, that moved me. And I say it was a journey from the church to the pride parade without losing my faith, without losing our child. And about the same time, I found the private online Facebook group for mom with gay kids. And at that time, there were about 250 moms in the group, and we all had the same story of feeling alienated from our church homes, from our, families as we become more affirming and knowledgeable, as we get educated on things like the history of human sexuality and science and evidence and, learning about a little gay bar in New York City called the Stonewall Inn and laws that affect our families. And we become accountable to those things. And so I'm not the first mom to offer hugs at a pride festival, but through hearing stories from the community, how they had lost their sense of belonging and how they missed their mothers. And so I made a homemade, I should have gotten it down with here with me, but I made a homemade button, said free mom hugs. Anyone who made eye contact with me, I offered him a hug or a high five. And the first hug went to a girl, said it had been 4 years since she had a hug from her mother. From that experience, we started the nonprofit Free Mom Hugs. And it's gone beyond my wildest dreams, but it could not be done by not meeting other mothers who, I just thought I was the only mother with a gay kid. And I thought it was okay with people being gay. And I use that term respectfully on this
Yeah.
conversation. But
Well,
I thought it was okay with people being gay until it was my son.
yeah, and you don't realize how isolating parents get. I talked to a friend and I said he was talking about his daughter, and she kinda sounds like she may be within the LGBTQ plus community, and I shared with him, she might just be. And without missing a beat, this guy had said and he had read my book, so he goes, "I raised my kid to make better choices." And I said, I'll clean
What
up
did
what I
you say?
said, but I said, "I didn't put my kid in a lesbian boot camp until she conformed. I have allowed her to be who she is." And that's the greatest gift I can give her, and I hope you can learn to do that for your daughter. I don't know.
You did.
Yeah, so,
You
it just parents are judged harshly, like, we've raised gay kids to be gay. I mean, if it's being raised, everybody would be raised in this country, majority Christian, Sunday school teachers are teachers, and heterosexual. We're all raised that way.
yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. So that is just absolutely unbelievable. So, how many chapters do you have with, Free Mom Hubs? Because let me tell you, when I talk to parents, I tell them, either get a mama bear shirt or a free mom hug shirt. And I said, "You're gonna be surprised at the amount of people that come up and ask for a hug."
Mhm. Yeah,
And
any type of affirmation, many times you can't have a conversation with someone, and anytime we can wear apparel, whether it's a button, a sticker on our car, any type of affirmation, yes, like you're wearing here, it just sends a message when you can't always use the words, but we do have chapters all across the country, and abroad. We have I like how Liz we both are about at 40,000 registered or, members, volunteers, with free mom hugs, and we have people registering every day, and we have events happening every day. In fact, last June, I looked it up before the call, but last June, and we're about to head into Pride Month now, but we had 3,500 volunteers during the not volunteers, but programs, projects, parades during the month of June across the country. And that tells us that people want to do something. And now more than ever, Liz and I, we want to do whatever we can. Number one, to be the loving presence in the lives of those who need it the most. But number two, to empower families.
and
Yeah,
and
but
I
oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's really important what Sarah just said about empowering families because I think, from the very first time I thought about wanting to get other mothers involved in advocating for the LGBTQ plus community and to make the world, a place that is, safer and more inclusive and kinder. The one thing I've always believed is the world goes the way the family goes. Or maybe a better way to say it is as the family goes, so goes the world. Because listen, if parents are wholeheartedly affirming of their LGBTQ plus kids, it's going to have a lot of ripple effects. They're going to talk to family members, to friends, to neighbors. They're going to speak up at school meetings. They're going to speak up at in their faith communities, maybe at a book club meeting. I mean, parents who want to make the world better for their kids, they're not going to stay quiet. I mean, these mama bears, this is not a bandwagon for them. This is a lifetime commitment. They don't stop. I would say a day rarely passes where a mom of an LGBTQ kid doesn't think, and I don't care how old the kid is, doesn't think at least one time, what could I do today to make this world a better place for my kid? Or what's happening in the world that's going to impact my kid that I need to know about? Maybe I need to take some kind of action. I mean, these things are on mothers' minds every day. Same thing if you had a kid who, had some other issue, maybe, a kid who's autistic. Those mothers are thinking in that direction. But I'm just saying these mama bears who are moms of LGBTQ plus kids, I mean, they're very passionate about this. And I believe the more families we reach, the more change we will see in the world. And that's why I love that Sarah and I both have these chapters all over and it's not just the United States. Sarah, I need to ask where your international chapters are. Ours are in Australia, UK, and where else? There's three places outside the Union. Oh, Canada. We have a lot in Canada.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we have gone international. We do have this obstacle because we are English speaking for the most part. So it's hard for us to get into some other countries. But I know some countries, like someone contacted me from Japan and wanted to start something there. Someone contacted me and they want to start something in French speaking. So, if I can help them, that's fine. I can't really have a chapter in those areas. What about you, Sarah?
We have the same representation. We have Australia, Canada, Japan, most recently Moldova. I hope I'm saying that right. And but it's representation. And I just couldn't be more pleased as they follow the programs that we have here where you have consistency and it again, it just shows that people want to do something. And I might add, Liz, when we empower families, and again, it's about being accountable to what we know. And I think a big thing with moms, or for me anyway, is just with each threshold that I crossed when I question authority, when I talk about sex, or money, you realize that lightning's not gonna strike you, and you get brave and bold and outspoken. It's a beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch families, moms, dads, even allies just gain their footing and empowered to speak up, to be visible, to be vocal. And I think that that's what keeps my sanity, especially during the times that we find ourselves in today, is that we're able to see every day firsthand what the chapters are doing throughout the country, the interactions that they're having with communities where they are. And it's the only thing that's keeping me sane at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And as moms, I think, we're usually the heart of the family, and the heart is just where we're gonna lead, and I think that's what really makes us great. And I know I've got a mama bear shirt and a free mom hug shirt, and my first pride event I went to, I had volunteered in 2019 was Evansville's first pride. I'd never been and my girls had been going. My daughter's married to her soulmate, Bailey, and they'd been going to Colorado Pride for years. And so I thought, "I'm gonna go down to Evansville," and I got on all my free mom hug stuff, and I'd already gotten a hold of a chapter there, and I went down, and I was amazed. I'd never been to Pride, so I wasn't too sure what to expect. I was extremely nervous, and I had the best time of my life. Oh my gosh. And then as I'm walking out, this kid looks at me and looks at my shirt and says, "Can I have a hug?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," so I'm hugging a complete stranger, and then as I'm going along, I've got all these people just asking for hugs. "Can I have a hug?" And then I went to Target, and people are kinda staring at me because 'cause I've got all my pride stuff on, and I'm on this high. I mean, I've been down there for about 4 hours. I had a blast, and this young lady comes up and she says, "Can I help you?" And I tell her what I want, so she walks me over there, and we're just walking through, and she's finding my item, and then she looks at me and she says, "Are you going to Pride?" And I go, "Yeah, go down there, have fun, be careful." Then she stood there and she goes, "Can I have a hug?" Right there in Target. I mean, and I'm crying, I'm
What
hugging her.
it's all about.
She's crying, and I was hooked. I was hooked on that, and then I also, like, last year when I was doing an engagement, I realized that and she whispered in my ear, "I needed this." And so it made me realize she hadn't come out to her family yet, chances were. That they're of it, and that's one thing you guys offer that to these young people. I don't always wanna say kids, that you give them that stepping stone to get that that courage to go to the family and say, "This is who I am." And I gotta thank you guys for that because that's a huge gift, and it's huge, and then the support that you're giving the parents as well, because as a parent, there's a lot of pressure on us, as you guys already know, I know it, we are pressured to disown our children, which is sad, from friends and family and organizations as well. So it does take all of us standing up saying no, and this is normal. It's part of human sexuality. It's not just boys and girls or black and white as we know. As we all have learned that. So thank you so much. So what do you guys have planned coming up?
Well, it's past the middle of May, so it's less than 2 weeks till the whole world is gonna be in rainbow colors. There's gonna be a lot going on, and, I do love Pride. For me, Pride is just an opportunity to celebrate the community and also to talk about the work that still needs to be done and recommit to that work. Pride is something that really inspires a lot of people to become real allies. I love Pride. It's so fun. But, being a real ally is not all, party. It's not all
Not all
fuzzy.
rainbows and glitter,
That's
you
right,
know?
it's not all rainbows and glitter. It's hard work. It means speaking up when it would be a lot easier just to stay quiet, it means, having difficult conversations. It means showing up even when we're tired and exhausted. It means, explaining something, the same thing over and over and over again. It means, having the courage to confront someone when they say something transphobic or homophobic. Now, I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt first, that they didn't mean to say something that's offensive, that's harmful. And so I, try to approach people that way. Like, I know you probably didn't mean it, but it's something I had to learn too. But what you just said is rooted in transphobia, and it can be harmful to people. And it can be harmful to put that idea just out into the world. And if you're interested, I can help you find some resources that help me learn better. I like to give people, that kind of approach. And I think it's important to have a few things in our back pocket because it's easy to get frozen when people say something and it's such a horrible feeling to go away and think, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have. It doesn't mean you're a bad person because you didn't. I just hate for people to have to experience that regret. So come up with a few things you can say. Maybe you just say something like, I thought that way too until I had a friend who was transgender or whatever. Just come up with something to stop people and make them think. So, anyway, yeah, I got a lot planned for Pride. One thing I want to mention is keep an eye on our social media pages because we are putting out a pride guide, a Mama Bear pride guide that is going to be free to anybody who wants it. It's really nice, got a lot of good information in it, a lot about LGBTQ history, the history of the flag, some important historical figures from the LGBTQ plus community, what to expect at Pride, what to do when you're at Pride, what not to do. There's just a lot of great information in it, and we've really written it for people who wanna be good allies. So, that's gonna be coming out in the next few days. So yeah, just a lot of great stuff like that. We've got some mama bear events going on. We're gonna have a live, singing drag show that's gonna benefit the Mama Bears Giving Circle, which I wanna talk about before we leave today.
Really
So,
good.
lots of good stuff.
Good, good. How about you, Sarah?
Yeah, just, like Liz said, pride season is here. I cannot believe how fast just April and May alone have gone by so quickly, and, but yeah, gearing up for pride. We've got our chapters that are being equipped and ready, and I'm seeing, events registering every day, all day, and, I wanted to say something that Liz spoke to, but I forgot about what it was
Just
already.
just come back to the
Resources. No, I love that you're coming out with a pride guide, Liz. And I do want to, point to or just make sure it's at least mentioned, or maybe you can offer it, Karen, but the link to, of course, Free Mom Hugs, but to Liz, the real mama bear. They have one of the best resource list on movies, books, groups, organizations, one of the best list of resources that
I've
I have
actually
seen.
used it in
And I've seen quite a
presentations
bit.
for parents quite a bit. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's been a go-to, and I
And Flag,
use
of
it for
course,
all
is good as far as resources, but the
yeah,
real mama bears, they got it going on, and I love that you're doing that, Liz. I can't wait to see it.
yeah, it is fantastic. So and we can't get enough the more information, education that we can do and that we can educate ourselves. I'm learning something new every day, and I'm sure you ladies do too, and I'm willing to learn something new every day as well. And I think that makes us better people all the way around and stuff. So let's see, Liz, what were you wanting to talk? Oh, there's something I want to say though, and it's kind of you guys both are up on nonprofits, and we know the giving for nonprofits is kind of down this year. But your merchandise, I know that that's where you make some of your money. So when I go into Target and I see a Mama Bear shirt or a Free Mom has at Target or Walmart or even on Amazon, you guys aren't on those platforms, are you? They don't donate any money to you guys or anything like that. So if somebody's
We
to get one of your t-shirts, they should go directly to your sites and I'm going to put them up. But either one of you want to talk about how important it is that they buy directly from you guys and what you guys, I know what you've already said you do, but it's just another revenue of being able to do your missions, isn't it? Yeah. So, and then when they go to Target, it's going into Target's pockets or Amazon's pockets. So that
Yeah. I mean, of course, Sarah and I prefer for people to buy from us, but I have to say we both love it when we just see anybody that's wearing anything that shows their support to the LGBTQ plus community because that really is at the heart of everything that we do. And but yeah, we both have websites, realmamabears.org, freemomhugs.org. We have a shop button on both of our sites, and that does help to fund the work that we do. I do want to be clear about one thing. Free Mom Hugs is a nonprofit. Real Mama Bears is not a nonprofit, but we have a nonprofit arm, and that's the Mama Bears Giving Circle. And I
perfect.
mentioned that I did want to, just say a word about that. We give grants to other nonprofits. We've
Mm,
given a couple of grants to Free Mom Hugs. In fact, we give a lot of grants to local resource centers. We've given to national, we've given to PFLAG National, we've given to Glisten, we've given to the Trevor Project. But really, one of the things that we're most passionate about is trying to get money to local resource centers Smaller resource centers don't have the same kind of ability to raise money like these national organizations do. And it's hard sometimes for them to put together programs if they don't know they're getting a big chunk of money in. If they're just doing, getting these little monthly donations here and there, it's hard for them to plan ahead and plan a program. So, what we do is we give grants for specific programs that these smaller or any organization is planning so that they can actually implement these programs and have a really good impact for the LGBTQ plus community and families with LGBTQ plus members. We started this in 2022 and we've already given more than $450,000 just in those few years. So I'm excited about it and anybody can get involved in it. You can go to our website and find the link for the Mama Bears Giving Circle. If you donate monthly, you get to nominate and vote on what organizations and programs receive our grants. You can give one time, and we love that. We love anything you can give. But if you can spread it out and put it over monthly, then you get to get involved in the process. It's a very democratic process. So, this is really important work. And especially, like you mentioned, Karen, right now, donations to organizations that support the community is down because, people have dissolved their DEI departments. And it's just not popular right now. So a lot of companies just aren't,
Mhm.
doing anything like they used to. They're not sponsoring organizations like they used to. They're not giving like they used to. So this kind of giving circle is more important than ever. So thank you for letting me talk about that because it really is a really important thing. And it's something I'm really proud of that we can do.
It Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I do wanna say this Mama Bear Giving Circle, I think is just a beautiful way to give back to the community, and yes, Free Mom Hugs has, been benefited from this. In fact, we the with the grant that we were given, we were able to hold we're planning this year, we will have 4 summits, and that is in different states across the country, empowering our chapter leaders, area leaders, and their volunteers. It's like a mini conference, but we would not have been able to do that without the Mama Bear Giving Circle. So I'm so grateful for the donors who not only give, but and voted for Free Mom Hugs to receive the grant, but even that it's going further. So it is important giving. We do depend a lot on our merchandise sales. Our logo is recognized worldwide, but it's still expensive to make the t-shirts and giving is down. We've gone from having Barefoot Wine and Bubbly, Vera Bradley, Hush Puppies shoes, and this year we have not one corporate sponsor. So we're feeling the crunch. We're gonna, it just we're gonna be creative, just like in the time of COVID. We had to just kind of pivot, and we'll figure it out. But it just might have to look a little different.
Yeah.
So
And my nonprofit, I wrote the book, and what happened was I started speaking, and then I was seeing these people. You hear that percentage, 47% of LGBTQ plus are disowned, 54% are disowned by at least one parent. I think that number's probably higher, but it is what it is. And so then as I start speaking, I start seeing them in the front rows crying, these people. And it threw me off the first time. And so that's where the nonprofit I started was getting grants for post-secondary education. And so then I did research and I was like, oh, I could do this, this, and this. And then I launched everything and then, like you said, DEI's gone by the wayside. One of our corporate sponsors from last year said, "Hey, you guys are kind of controversial. We're going to sit it out this year." Helping people's controversial? Come on. So everybody's
well,
fine across the board.
yeah. I mean, we are a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We have to stay in our lane as well. But unless you live under a rock, do you realize what's happening in the world currently, especially to our transgender community? However, it will not stop the mission of the Real Mama Bears or Free Mom Hugs. Yes, it's needed today more than ever, especially for the transgender community. But I want to also focus on just recently in Wisconsin. You saw the news; it's made national news how the school didn't allow the band to perform a song dedicated to Marsha P. Johnson, Stonewall era history. and the board of that school said they couldn't play the song, and now you have a bar and a church allowing the band to play the damn song. And I mean, when I see stuff like that, there's also a military school that there's a transgender student there. It's just news is just coming into me, but they dead named the student. They removed or edited the school class picture and to go, I mean, to remove facial hair to this transgender man, young man. Anyway, but the outpouring of support online, if you go to that Facebook page and just flooded with people supporting this young man. And I mean, that gives me great hope that the people are not having it. And the allies that our hair's on fire. Listen, one last thing and I'll hush, but I bought a bullhorn. I bought a bullhorn.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it. I don't know where. It might be at a pride festival or at the state capitol. You know,
Mhm.
my thing is, what have we got to lose?
Yeah.
And if
Well,
you're, yeah,
oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead, you go.
You just made me think. I do love how, and again, Real Mama Bears is not a nonprofit, so I don't have to watch what we say. So,
You go.
with what's going on politically is really bad for the LGBTQ plus community, especially for the transgender community. And one thing that you made me think of, Sarah, when you talked about, we're going to get creative, nothing's going to stop us, is all these rainbow side crosswalks that have been removed. And then these communities get so creative. They're painting their sidewalks, they're painting the sides of their buildings, they're painting their fences. Some
The lamp
residents are
post.
painting their driveways. Yeah, the flag post. A lot of cities, because they couldn't put up a pride flag anymore, they've changed their official city flag to include colors from the pride and trans flag. So I love the creativity from the community and from those who support the community. And it is a good sign. And it does give me hope that no matter how much they push us back, no matter how much they try to make LGBTQ plus people disappear, go back in the closet, no matter how much they intimidate, the community and the allies are going to find ways to keep moving forward and to keep showing support and keep, spreading love and speaking up. I love that. Thank you, Sarah. You reminded me of that. And that just got me all excited. And I'm sorry I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, no, I love it. I love it, and Karen, I don't mean to just I bought a bullhorn, okay?
Good.
I'm so excited about it, but I need to put some stickers on it. But all that to say, yeah, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. And if that's all you're focusing on, but I'm telling you, there are good people out there doing amazing things where they live. And we just can't get lost in the muck and the mire because there's power in fear and ignorance, just like, and even more so, power in love and education.
Yes.
And so the more we can set the example, be visible, be vocal, but it's the current administration, ignorance and bad theology. Those two things are our worst.
Well, it's also intentional misinformation used as a weapon.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that's exactly when I look at things that are not being covered in the news, and then the little bitty blurbs that get over here, and it's so misproportionate on the information, and it just you can look at it and the trans community, the LGBTQ plus community are being weaponized right now.
Yeah.
So, and we have to stay vocal and we have to keep in with the fight.
That's why I think allies are now more important than ever. The
Ever. They
trans
have got and
community.
I'm doing a presentation at the end of the month in Owensboro to kick off Pride, and it's on allies, and it basically says it's a verb and it requires you to take action, to use your privilege and take action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of a good friend of mine and Sarah's, Stan Mitchell, he always says, if you're not standing close enough to the people that you're advocating for so that you get hit by the same rocks being thrown at them, then you're not standing close enough. You're not really being a good ally because we do have to I always say, being an ally is really hard. I mean, it's not easy work. I mean, if you're really serious about it, you're going to have to take some risk. You're going
Yeah.
to have to speak up when, of course, I'm not telling anybody to put themselves in danger, but I am saying you're going to have to take some risk.
Yeah.
I'm not saying put yourself in physical danger,
Mm.
but you're gonna have to do some things that are uncomfortable. You're gonna have to do some hard things. You're gonna have to show up when maybe you don't really want to. You know, you're tired, maybe you're afraid to speak up. Maybe you don't wanna cause ripples in the family, but you're gonna have to do some hard things, some uncomfortable things. So, yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, we had I live in a small town right outside of Evansville, Indiana, so everybody knows everybody, and, they were trying to get rid of the Pride Club. It's called the Friendship Club. 5 kids go to it in the whole junior high. So I was following it through the newspaper, but I didn't wanna just go running in, you know? So finally, it was very evident how biased the reporting was. I had already reached out to the club sponsor who didn't get paid for her time in there, and that's how I knew how many kids were in there. And then the day before, I thought, "Okay, I gotta come to this one and speak up," you know? And then a teacher had reached out. She said, "I'm not supposed to contact you, but would you please come talk?" And I said, "Oh, it's already scheduled." So I got in there, and of course, 2 churches, local churches, had organized a large group of people to speak against it. And they were speaking up saying, "Well, you need a psychologist in there because these kids are mentally ill." I mean, this is on record how much misinformation. So when I got up there and one guy said, "Just get rid of the whole if in order to get rid of this club, get rid of them all." And I'm thinking, that's a great way for junior high kids to hate other junior high kids, you know? And they have, like, a Christian club, they have a prayer group club. I mean, it's very diverse, you know? So when I stood up, I caught myself just saying, "You're not the problem, or the kids aren't the problem, it's you. It's your bigotry ways." And it was I mean, these are people I've known for 30 plus years, but I'm done, you know, because the information's wrong, it's being weaponized, you're villainizing children, and then even posting about it on Facebook to where these kids can see your post. You don't care about those kids. You don't. You're just taking that information and running with it.
And good for you because I really do believe every time we speak up, it empowers someone else to do it. It gives someone else permission. You know, people just realize, okay, I'm not alone. Okay, she did it and she survived, so maybe I can do it. Or maybe, you know, they just think, I want to be like that too. I
Mhm.
want to be like that. I want my kid to see me being like that. I think that's what a lot of moms of LGBTQ plus kids see. You know, they see, you know, free mom hugs at a pride event. And believe it or not, a lot of people have never heard of real mama bears or free mom hugs, and they find out about it and they're like, I want to do that too.
Mhm. Yeah, and
It's
then they also get in there and the support and the friendships that you make, they're priceless. They are just and also you as a parent of LGBTQ+, we need support.
Yeah, we do. We do need support. And we also need, you know, good information and we need inspiration. And I think, you know, these communities offer all those things. You know, one thing that the Real Mama Bears does is we host a bunch of different programs that give our members opportunities to do to support the community. Like we have Mama Bears to the Rescue. So LGBTQ plus people can make connections with moms and they do things like, you know, small acts of kindness, you know, make a hospital visit, send a card in the mail, meet up for lunch, text online with you. Just, you know, sometimes they do big things. Like one story I love is this mom had made a connection with a young college student who had contacted us through Mama Bears to the Rescue, and she developed a relationship with him. And she found out that for Christmas, he wasn't going to go home because his boyfriend didn't want to go home because his boyfriend's family was not supportive. His family was a little more accepting, but they wouldn't allow him to bring his boyfriend home. So he decided he's going to stay at college and just him and his boyfriend going to be there during Christmas. Well, that broke her heart. Now she had the means. So she bought them both airplane tickets to her house and one thing I love that they did, her family has this tradition to all dress in these like, you know, footy pajamas and take a picture at Christmas. She bought them for that guy and his boyfriend too. And so they have a family picture that year of them all dressed in those red footy pajamas. And I just love hearing stories like that. I mean, so that's the Mama Bears to the Rescue. We also have a program at Christmas, holiday hugs, where moms send out Christmas cards to LGBTQ kids. We have the care packages that we send out. It's called Little Box of Rainbows. Moms volunteer to put these care packages to people together. We get these requests in. And then we have the blankets that the moms make out of fleece that they send out to LGBTQ plus people. So we have a lot of programs like that. And that allows moms to get involved because, advocacy comes in a lot of different forms. It's not always standing on a stage and speaking or doing, something real public. A lot of advocacy happens in these really small moments that really matter and make a difference in someone's life.
Those small moments have a big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sarah, you got anything you wanna add to that?
Well, I wanna go back to, you talked about a well, I there okay, about churches,
Mhm.
and, we have I remember when I first, kinda got into this arena, there were there are 3 fully affirming churches near where I live, and, I recently found out that there's a community pride worship service here in Oklahoma City, and guess how many churches are involved in that worship service?
How many?
20.
Wow, that's
See?
great.
So, yeah, I'm very encouraged. I don't know if I'll see it all in my lifetime, but I know that we're on the right track.
Yeah,
We may not feel like it with the headlines being the way that they are, but I'm more encouraged than I am not.
yeah, yeah. And my goal, and I share this all the time when I speak, my title of my book is the same as the podcast, My Kid's Gay and I'm Okay. Nothing rhymed with lesbian, so we went with that. So, but what happened was my goal is that somebody looks at my book in my lifetime and says, "This is the dumbest book I've ever read in my life. Why would anybody write this?" Because we've all picked up those books, and that I have to dismantle my nonprofit because we don't need it anymore. That's my goal. I want to see that in my lifetime, that it's not needed, that 47% are not disowned for coming out.
Yeah.
So that's
I think that's great, Karen. And apologies, I didn't know you wrote a book. I'm gonna look for
great.
it. It's called
My kid's gay and I'm okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
what
I'll look
happened with,
for it.
my daughter, she came out and she had, suicidal ideation as she came out.
Mm.
So we went through the whole very typical story, I didn't see it coming. She'd always dated guys. I had no clue. And I jokingly say I was raising an assertive female and accidentally overshot it and raised a lesbian. But we were driving down the street and my friends started dropping off one by one,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, if that's all it took, wasn't much of a friendship." So she kind of made the comment, "I've lost you." She goes, "Mom, you wouldn't believe it. I've lost friends when I came out." I go, "Well, you wouldn't believe it. I've lost friends because I stood up with you." Well, next thing
Mm.
I've got this, she's 21, 22. She says, "Mom, I'm so sorry." I said, "It's
Oh,
not your fault. Don't you dare apologize." And if we had a really good friendship, this would not have mattered. So you don't ever apologize. And I'm going down Diamond Avenue in Evansville, Indiana, and we stopped at a stoplight and I grabbed her and I said, "My kid's gay and I'm okay." And I laughed and I told her then, I said, "If I ever write a book, this is going to be the title."
yeah, very good. Well, congratulations. I'm so glad that your daughter and you are able to have an authentic relationship. That means a lot. And that you're using this podcast and what's like Liz talks about, use what you got, where you're at, and who you're with, or something like that. Anyway, I'm glad you're doing the thing. I want to say, I feel like cussing. I'm glad you're doing the damn thing, Karen.
Go ahead, because I cuss like a truck driver. So
When I
it's
get
the only, I don't
excited,
drink and smoke, but I can cuss up a storm.
I do cuss. Anyway, I'm just glad we're all here. We're all on the right side of history. We're all doing the thing that we were,
We were called to do.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said at the beginning, you both have inspired me so much. And I know you probably hear that quite a bit.
Likewise, honey. Likewise.
Thank you. And we're all in this together. And if we can, two-thirds of Americans do not have a problem with LGBTQ plus community. We're just not vocal enough. And that's what, when I reached out to you guys, I was like, I just want three moms to have this talk, with all of us. And yes, yes. So,
Well, I love that. I tell you, my heart is really breaking for the transgender community right now. When I started my private Facebook group for moms of LGBTQ plus kids, honestly, I didn't really know anything about transgender people. I mean, it's something I've had to learn over the years. And I started that group in 2014. My son came out in 2006. I blogged for a while and did some other work, and I started the group in 2014. So that was 12 years ago this June, because we started in at the end of May, beginning of June in 2014. But I tell you, the trans community is just going through hell right now.
yeah,
And it is what's happened is it is a new subject for a lot of people. It is something that a lot of people don't know about, they don't understand, they haven't been educated about, and it is the perfect storm for people to put out misinformation on and to use it to, get people afraid, and it's a lot easier to get people to vote against something than it is for something, and so that's what this is really rooted in, is like a just a toxic form of politics, because trans people are not a threat. They're not dangerous. They're not doing anything bad to women's rights or to women's, athletics. Or sports. They're not dangerous if they go into a restroom. I mean, this is crazy talk that people are hearing, and people think, "Oh, gender is just male or female." Well, we know so much more about gender than that. If people just would try to become educated and not just lean into
Fear.
preconceived ideas or these fear-based messages that are being put out there. So, yeah, I would love to think that, Real Mama Bears is not gonna be needed in my lifetime, but I would say looking back on history and not just about LGBTQ people, but about minority groups and marginalized people, this work is not going to be resolved in my lifetime. I don't know when it will be resolved, if it ever, but it will not be resolved in my lifetime. But I do feel like we can make progress, like we can keep making progress. And so that's why I stay committed to doing this work, is I believe every family that we educate and empower and get good information to and help them learn to wholeheartedly accept and affirm and celebrate their LGBTQ child. I believe that has ripple effects, and it does create change. I always like to say there's 3 levels that parents usually go through if they're not already affirming when their kid comes out. First, positive, and I'm talking about if they're going the positive route. The first thing is they accept it, and that's good. It's better than nothing. Then when they learn, they become affirming, and that's but I always say if parents are going the positive path, there's 3 levels that they go through. The first is usually acceptance, and that's good, it's better than nothing. And then there's affirming. After they learn and they get educated, they begin to affirm their LGBTQ child, and that's so much better than just acceptance. I mean, that really, helps the well-being, the mental health, the state of mind of our LGBTQ plus kids when they know that we actually affirm them, their identity, their orientation. But then the third level is what I really love, and I think it makes a huge difference, and that's when parents begin to celebrate their LGBTQ
Mhm.
kids, and they do things like they go to Pride, and when they're celebrating their kids, man, it just makes them much more, I don't know, they have more courage, they're braver about how they show up, how they speak up, and they get more conscious about the important things to do, like, voting, like educating other people, like supporting LGBTQ owned businesses, just all kinds
Mhm.
of things like that. So yeah, I love it when parents wholeheartedly affirm and celebrate their LGBTQ plus kids, and it also improves their relationship with their kids.
Yes, it does, and all of your children, usually, because I have a son and a daughter, he's fully accepting of Rachel, and I believe had I turned my back on her, it would alter my relationship with him.
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
so.
and before I got booted out of here, but, I the meeting I had or, you were talking about trans, and about 3 years ago, I went into a library to talk, and I was talking to this man and he's talking to me about the work he does. He works with autistic children, and I was like, "Oh, that's really neat." And then halfway through the conversation, and I gifted him my book, and he says, "I'm a trans man," and I had no indication that I was not speaking to a man. And as far as I'm concerned, he is a man.
Well, yeah, definitely. Trans men are men.
Yes, trans women are women, and I'd like to see the word trans drop, but, I mean, at that point in time, I was like, "Oh, it's the first trans person I've ever met." This is what I'm thinking, and then it dawns on me later, I was like, "You've met them all your life, you just didn't know." There's no doubt, and
Yeah,
that's what
we
people need to realize too.
Yeah, we do, encourage, mama bears, don't use trans unless it's necessary. Sure, in some of our conversations where we're asking questions and trying to get resources and learn, sometimes it's necessary, but otherwise, it's just your son, it's just your daughter, it's just your friend, you don't have to say trans, we try to normalize some other things like people using their pronouns. And I'll just mention that somehow I had trouble getting my pronouns put beside my name here, but my pronouns are she, her. And I do share those typically on, everything. So, yeah, we do try to normalize things like that. We are asking moms not to use terms like female to male and male to female and assign male at birth, assign female at birth, unless it's absolutely necessary, because the trans community has taught me that that can be offensive to them because it relates their gender to body parts. And their gender is not connected directly to body parts. Their gender is more of an internal sense. It exists somewhere here in the thought process of who we are and how we identify, intellectually and emotionally and personally. So there are things like that we're learning as we go along, and we're trying to help, moms of LGBTQ plus kids learn these things too. Another thing I would just say is I know a lot of parents say, that they go through a period of grieving, and I never want to discount anybody's feelings, but we are, out of respect for the trans community and so many of them that we are hearing from, asking mothers to try to reframe those words, those thoughts. Because really, when we talk to parents of trans kids, mostly what they think of as grieving is rooted in some other things, like some expectations they had for their kids that are going to be different now. Fear, now they're fearful for their kids in a way that they weren't before. Uncertainty about their kids' future, just the change,
Yeah.
just the uncomfortable feeling of having to go through change. So we're just asking parents to think about reframing those things, because when a trans person hears that their parent is grieving because they came out, that sounds negative to them. And listen, our kids don't want to be the root of some negative feeling that we're having. That makes them feel bad. And that's the last thing we should want to do if we love and support our LGBTQ kids. We should not want to burden them. Of course, if we have feelings, let's find good ways to process it, and healthy ways, because feelings are going to come out. But we are asking parents to consider reframing how they think about this, and to move more into the root of these feelings instead of calling it grief. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, because okay, it's interesting you bring this up because I had a mom tell me last summer, "I'm grieving the loss of who I thought my daughter was." And I'm thinking, I never grieved my daughter when she came out because when she came out, she had dated guys, and there was just something that wasn't quite right. I couldn't put my finger on it. And for the first time she brought a girl home, she was comfortable, she was calm, and I remember thinking, "This is who she truly is," because she had told me she was bi, and I was like, "I don't care," you know? So she brings a girl home, and I'm watching it, and that forced laughter's not there, the waiting on 'em hand and foot's not there, and I thought, "This is her true authentic self. She is not bi, she is a lesbian." So I kept telling her for, like, a couple years, and finally, a couple years in, she called me, she said, "You're right, I am gay." And I go, "It's okay. It's more than okay." So there was never I feel more like I celebrated her more because I didn't lose anything. I really actually got to see her as her true self.
You knew more about her then.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and nothing changed though. She and her wife had this great relationship. They have their struggles just like everybody else. And some of the stuff she and I talk about that as I try to give her advice, it's no different than if she were married to, what a normal relationship. I'm doing air quotes, so I want
Mhm.
everybody to see that because her relationship is normal. It's normal to me, it's normal to her, and it's beautiful. She and her wife have built this beautiful life together. So, and my son's married to his beautiful wife. I was at work one day, this is a couple years back, and somebody says, "Well, how many you got 2 daughter-in-laws?" I said, "Yep, 2 daughter-in-laws." And they go, "So you have 2 sons?" I said, "Nope, 1 of each." And the person went,
That's great. That's great.
"Yeah,
I think that's great. I did want to say what Liz was talking about earlier, the process. And, I think the dynamic for a family with transgender children, youth, I mean, let's face it, we have people coming out late in life, but the process is still a process. And what I love about the private online Facebook group for parents of LGBTQ plus kids is that they can put all those fears, misconceptions, or whatever it is, the silly questions. I want to say stupid questions, but they're not stupid. But they can put all that in the group and not put that on their children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing about support, private online Facebook group. It's private. There's no judgment. You can talk about anything. You get educated. You find the resources.
Well, I was on that serendipity the other day, and this woman says, and they always refer to their children as their reason. My reason is going to England, and I'm scared. And I think that post got 3 or 400 where people were weighing in, going, "Hey, my kid just came back. My reason just did this. I'm here. If they need help, let me know. I can help them if they're here. But this is." And so you just see that, and it gives you a lot of hope for the future. A whole lot of hope.
Karen, do you know why they call their kids their reason?
Why is that?
In the early days, there was a questionnaire and it said, "What's your reason for joining this group?" People would say, "Well, my son is gay," or "My daughter's a lesbian," or "My kid's bisexual," or, whatever. And so it just happened organically. People started calling their kids my reason. And it's not a requirement. And it's never been like a rule or a guideline. It just something that the moms started doing.
I think it's beautiful. I really do. I think and to read the post and then everybody chimes in with their help and the support and the love. I mean, it's just a beautiful community that you guys have created and stuff and very much needed. So, yeah.
Well, that's something we both work on. I know Free Mom Hugs goes to a lot of trouble to make sure that all their volunteers are 100% affirming and know how to, manage themselves when they're at LGBTQ events, even down to educating them. Some people don't want to hug. So,
Mhm.
and how to listen to people and respond to people. And I know in our online community, we go to a lot of trouble to create a community that I don't want to call it a safe place because it's safe places people think you'll never feel uncomfortable. But I do like to call our community a brave space. So it's a place where
Okay.
people, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt that you mean well. If you say the wrong thing, somebody's going to correct you, but not out of any kind of malice, because they want you to be the best parent, the best ally that you can. And so
Yes.
that's kind of the spirit of the online
I
community.
like that.
The
Right.
free mom hugs too. And we do really try to create a very positive community where people can find support, but also continue to learn and grow because this is something I'm still learning new things every day. And I've been in
So
conversation for, I don't know, almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
yeah, I wanna add something too, and I'm carrying it because I wanna I know we're getting to the top of the hour, the bottom of the hour, but one thing I wanna clarify, I think for Liz and for Free Mom Hugs is that around Pride Month, we start seeing the memes like, "If your parents won't accept you, I'm your parent now, drink your water." That's not the mission of Free Mom Hugs at all. We never, ever wanna replace a parent. We're always hopeful that the parents will come around. But until they do, we want to be that loving presence in the lives of those who need it the most, but it has never or ever been our intention to replace a parent. So I wanna be very clear on that because those memes start coming around about every pride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't wanna be cavalier about that because, I have seen things like you're talking about, Sarah, where it says, "If your mom doesn't accept you, I'll be your mom." But, being a parent a lot of responsibility comes with that.
Mhm.
So,
And
we
that's
shouldn't be saying we're
exactly
gonna be someone's mom if we're not gonna take on that responsibility, like Sarah said, and we
yeah.
do try to put that message out, which reminds me, Sarah, we better get it out. It's getting that.
I know. I've been sent that just recently and said, "Is this
Yeah.
you?" No,
Yeah.
it's
And
not.
see,
No, we have to
and
remind our members because they mean well when they say it.
they
Mhm.
But
do.
we have learned from the community that the community doesn't really like that because they know, "No, you're not really willing to be my mom. Maybe you're willing to be my friend, maybe you're willing to be a support system, but you're not willing to do the things that I need a mother to do."
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about a chosen family.
Yes.
There's a Stand in Pride organization that's doing amazing work.
Mhm.
But Karen, I know we've done a lot of talking, but I wanna know what's next for you? And,
Well, I've got a bunch of speaking engagements coming up in Pride. Last year, I ran around by myself, I don't wanna say by myself because I had volunteers, but I hit 12 prides last year. It's
Nice.
with it
Nice.
being my first year, I'm kinda scaling back a little bit. The smaller communities, I'm in a very rural area, so
Wow.
they have less resources, so I've scaled back some of that and doing, 6 or 7 prides this year. I'm doing
When
my
you
first
say doing, what are you doing? Do you have a table or what are you
table and
doing?
a tent and all that, and then I'm doing my first, wedding, next month as well. I'm so
Officiating,
Yes,
singing.
yes, I got, ordained back in, like, when my daughter couldn't find, I was like, "I'll do it." She goes, "No, you're not doing my wedding because 'cause you'll cry the whole time," which if that was true, I would have stood there and cried,
Yes, yes.
and happy tears, and, her officiant was amazing, but it made me realize that, love's love, and people want their weddings, and those are special days. So we had a couple that did our Louisville pride for us last year, and she
Okay.
reached out to me and said, "Would you be my officiant?" I said,
My
"Oh."
goodness.
So that day I've got we're gonna be and then a local production play is doing a play, and they're going to do this give us a proceeds for the nonprofit.
Oh,
So, gotta
wonderful.
be there, and then I've got a pride event.
What's the name of the play?
It is, hang on, What We Keep Quiet. So, Ricky I don't know if you can see that, I'll put that up. Ricky
Aw.
has written the story of how he came out. His family disowned him, he went to live with his aunt.
It's called What We Keep Quiet?
Keep Quiet by Ricky Eblin, and what I'll do is I'll put this up here as well, and so that's gonna be at Stage 2 in Evansville, Indiana, and someone has already told me that it is an excellent play, so we're
Oh,
gonna
I'd
be
love to
there.
see it.
Yeah, and then he chose MKGOK, which is, acronyms, My Kids Gay, okay,
Yeah.
and
Maybe we can get some of our volunteers there to show support for the
that
play.
would be fantastic. As a matter of fact, Melanie Odgers from Indianapolis, we
Mhm,
did, 2 Main Street a couple years ago when I was
mhm.
promoting my book when it very first came out. So she was the person that for free
Okay.
books. Yeah, she was over at Indiana and Kentucky at the time.
Yeah, let her know. I mean, I
I
bet
will.
if we can get
I'll
people
reach
out,
out
they
to her.
love important stuff like that.
Yeah, and so I'll let her know that, and then, yeah, just running all over. I'm kicking off Pride in Owensboro at the end of May, and, I'm looking for more opportunities as well, just to be out there and speak, and then, of course, again in October, get busy again just like you guys are and
Yeah.
stuff, so
Well,
Well,
thank you
thank you
for all
for
that. It's so
yeah.
important, and I mean, I think it's even especially important in these rural areas.
we
Oh,
have
yeah.
a lot less resources, a lot less,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I live in an on the outskirts of Dallas and Fort Worth, and last year is the first time that there was a pride event in my hometown. And I love how people are getting so creative about pride events now because cities don't want to do them now.
Mhm.
So there was a local church who had a big piece
Yeah.
of land and and it was an affirming church and they allowed the pride event to take place on their property. And Sarah came to, and it was just
It
such a
was so good.
wonderful event. It was so exciting. And they're going to do it again this year. They're
Oh,
doing it in October, which is really nice in Texas because I'm telling you, I'll be going to pride events in Texas in June, but it is brutal.
Yeah.
mhm.
The heat is brutal.
I lived in Midland, like I told you earlier, so it was dry, but in your where it's more humid, so that's really tough
Yeah.
and stuff. Indiana's like that. It's really humid and hot, so and we're surrounded by cornfields.
And Oklahoma is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but today it's like I swear it's like 55 degrees here today. I'm freezing. Like, I
Mhm.
have a space heater that I almost pulled out today.
Yeah.
It'll never be 55 on Pride that day, though. We all
No.
know that.
No, no.
Oh, I've been to Oklahoma City Pride, and it's brutal too.
Yes.
And then I'm also working on my 2nd book, so I'm
Is
getting
that right?
I am. I'm getting stories. Everybody wanted a follow-up book to My Kid's Gay, and I'm okay, and I was like, "My kid's still gay, and I'm still okay." I thought, "No," but then as you go to these events, you hear all these other stories.
Mhm.
It's like, these are the stories people need to hear, the good, the
Have you
bad,
got a
the ugly.
working title yet?
Yes.
Or can we talk about I don't know if that's taboo or what.
I'll wait until I get a little bit more down the road. How's that
Got
sound?
you.
And
Well,
I'll
let
share
us know when it comes out.
I will. I'll holler at you guys, but I just feel like if we can be that voice and have these stories and normalize these conversations that a parent can find, because when I was looking for resources, I just could not find anything to make sure I was getting it right,
No, they
Mhm.
are important, and, Sarah has a great book called, How We Sleep at Night,
Yep.
and it's been very, very popular in the mama bear community. I love it, it's her story, and then I have 2 books out. One is a, book of LGBTQ plus terms, and it has like a bunch of non-binary alternative language in that, and it's just full of good information. And then we also have a book out that I wrote called "A Parent's Guide to Advocating for Your LGBTQ plus student," and it takes the approach to help parents become proactive. Don't wait for a problem. Here's what you can be doing right now before your kid ever has a problem at school to help make the school safer and more inclusive for your kid, and how to connect with teachers and school administrators and what you need to know. So we're proud of both of those. So I love that we all have different ways that we're trying to you know, connect with the community and with allies and get them, educated. I agree with you. Stories are so important. We have a project called the Mama Bear Story Project, and we collect stories from moms of LGBTQ plus kids, and those are online. And we're working at putting that into a book and getting that out. So, yeah, stories really do change hearts and minds.
They
Yeah.
do, they do, and the more we talk about this, like I said, we'll just normalize it. It's already normal, but for those who are needing those resources, have them available.
You're going to have to do this in 2 parts. You,
Yes.
you, you're going to have to do this podcast in 2 parts. Nobody's ever going to listen to the end.
Oh, I tell you what, Dr. Bobby Glass, she was on that documentary, 1946.
Yeah.
Fantastic woman, love her. We talked for 2 hours, and I was gonna do it in half, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna let it go. People can stop and pause it and come back." So, it's one of the biggest hits on the
Really? Well, that's
yeah,
great. I haven't listened to that one yet. I'm going to have to
I
listen
will.
to it. How
yeah.
many episodes have you done?
So I started on season 1, and I just would literally like, somebody would say something when I was out, and I would get up, turn on my computer, record it. It was all audio. I didn't have to worry about the makeup or the bra or fixing my hair. So, and I don't think I even had
Good,
guests.
Ron.
And so then Ken Krell, he had reached out to me, and he does the Daily Hug. So if you guys don't know about that, it's a great resource. And
Oh,
then
the
he also
Daily
does
Hug.
Daily Hug, and then he does the LGBTQ Nomad Traveler, and he keeps a thing of safe places to go. I'll shoot you guys his
Oh,
name, okay, and you can look him
nice.
up. So I asked him, and he had made a mention that I not everybody's disowned, but sometimes we're unwelcomed, and that was such a powerful statement. So of course
Mm.
I said, "Hey, would you be on my podcast?" He goes, "Yeah." So we recorded it. He goes, "Why aren't you recording?" I go, and he says, "No, you need to be on video, Karen." So he was the first one for this season. He was supposed to be the end of season 1. So I think I'm gonna go back through season 1 and re-record a lot of that because it's just talking about, things that I hear or do or how I felt as my daughter came out and how I navigated those. Some are 5 minutes long, some are 10 or 20 minutes long, that type of thing. So, but yeah, so I rolled out video this year of it.
Well,
So,
that's good. One thing you might think of, we're doing a lot of videos on Instagram now,
yes.
and we're doing these Mama Bear minutes, and
Mhm.
but you gotta have them less than 3 minutes or
Right.
else it won't get out into the algorithm. But it sounds like you've got a lot of little topics there that you
Mhm.
could break up into some short videos, and those are really powerful. People don't have a long attention span these days, but
Right.
they will watch these short videos on social media, and they can really have a great impact.
They sure do.
Mhm.
And I'm also on TikTok. I
Yeah.
just got to
Okay.
get to where I'm doing it more consistently,
Yeah.
so, I've got that. So that is I've got one last question. Do you guys have anything you wanna add that we can talk about or we haven't covered yet? Okay, so, we got one last
Okay.
question then, okay? What advice would you give a parent to whose kid has come out or they suspect that they're part of the LGBTQ plus community? What advice would you give them? Or
You
what
go
would
first,
advice
Sarah.
would you give yourself?
You go first, Sarah.
Well, it sounds harsh, but I mean it. But I would say your child or when your children, whether they're 7 or 77, tell you who they are, they're entrusting you with the most tender, intimate parts of who they are, no matter how at what age, and you either accept and celebrate your child or you're gonna suffer with them, is what I would say. And that there's so much information out there now that the only choice is to remain in fear and ignorance of what it means to be gay or have a gay child. That's what I say.
Yeah, I would say, when your child comes out to you, or if you're you know your child is LGBTQ. I think the most important thing is just let your child know that you love them, that you're going to stand with them, that, you know, if there's anything to figure out, you guys are going to figure it out together, that you're going to do everything you can to make sure that your kid can wholeheartedly live as their true and authentic self. And you know, just provide a really safe place for them to land. The world is gonna be tough on our LGBTQ kids, no matter what their age are, and, but if they know that their parent wholeheartedly supports them and that, you know, it's a safe place for them, they can navigate those challenges so much better. They can get through the world so much better if they have our, support and love, and so yeah, that's the most important thing. And keep getting educated, keep learning. Don't depend on your kid to teach you everything. That doesn't mean that you can't ever ask them a question, but you know, do your own work to learn because there is a lot to learn. And as a cisgender person, especially an older cisgender person, we just didn't grow up, you know, with this kind of knowledge, this kind of information. So we have to make sure that we're still learning. And as the community evolves, they're learning more what they need to, and they're becoming better at voicing their needs. So we need to, you know, learn from them too. So yeah, wholeheartedly support them, be a safe place and get educated.
Fantastic. Yeah. And, yeah, you said it all, both of you. So I can't thank you guys enough for everything you're doing. Keep fighting the good fight. Everybody else too. Please get on their websites and support these 2 organizations and find support for you as well and your family. So
Yeah, I wanna get a selfie before we hang up.
absolutely.
Ready?
Yeah,
And I'll send this to you, okay?
sounds good.
Happy Pride.
Happy
Happy
Pride.
Pride.
Great.
Okay, got it.
Good. I'm gonna
Thank
stop
you,
recording.
Karen.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I'm
This
gonna
was
stop
fun.